Yo guys, what's going on? It is week 10, coming off our bye week. Exciting week playing the Packers. I have some great memories playing the Packers, and it's really going to be a great matchup. Some exciting news did just come out too that Russ has actually been cleared to play in this game. There was a lot of questions about what that time frame for him being able to come back, what it was going to be like. When the initial injury came out, it said 4 to 8 weeks. It does look like he's going to end up being able to come back for this upcoming week, which is just such a huge thing for our offense. Obviously, Russ, basically everything has gone through him and our offense for the past couple of years. So being able to get him back is super cool. Now, with that being said, playing the Packers, had some great memories playing the Packers. We do have the Packers Club champion here today. His name is Chiggs. And for anybody that knows Chiggs within the Madden community, knows that he is a die-hard Packers fan. He did Packers Club every single year. He came so close every single year, but last year was finally able to get over the hump, and he ended up beating Skeeman to be the Packers Club champion. So with that being said, Chiggs, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Just good to be on here with you, man, and play against you. This upcoming week, week 10, we got Packers Seahawks. It should be a good game. Russell Wilson coming back. Hopefully Rodgers will be back this week too if he gets clear on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Come off the COVID list. But I feel good about our team right now, the Packers. 7-2. Obviously, we came off a loss last week, but I'm honestly not that mad about how we played. Our defense played really phenomenal, and just the offense kind of had struggles with Jordan Love getting his first start, but
Yeah,
I think it'll be a pretty good game.
and especially in a hostile environment like the Chiefs Stadium is,
Yeah,
Arrowhead
yeah,
Stadium, it's always going to be difficult for a player making his first career start, to have a ton of success in that situation. As you said, the Chiefs defenses, or excuse me, offense is one of the best offenses in the league, and they looked
yeah.
really good in terms of what they were able to do. Defensively against the Chiefs, but you said this is actually something I was going to ask you. You said your team looks really good right now. You're happy with how everything's looking. But with that being said, with Odell being cut, how big of an addition do you think Odell would be to the Packers for you?
I think it would add a lot to our offense, honestly, getting Odell. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, we have Devontae, and, Devontae is phenomenal, but to add that second, like, really bona fide weapon,
Mm-hmm.
like, that would add a lot to our offense and be able to put him on the outside and really be a true threat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if it's really a necessity at this point to get Odell, but sometimes like obviously going off what happened with the Browns, like maybe there's a situation where he's maybe more trouble than good,
Mm-hmm.
but who knows, man? I don't know if we'll end up doing it. We're not known for really bringing in those kind of guys. Like Antonio Brown was the guy that we possibly were thinking about bringing in, but I don't know if we'll end up doing it, honestly.
Good pressure right there early. But yeah, no, Odell being cut from the Brown or away from the Browns, excuse me. And a player that probably has one of the more famous moments in terms of the history of the NFL with his one-handed catch. But just everything things never really worked out for the Browns, honestly, between Odell and the Browns. They seem to split ways on pretty good terms. But I
Yeah,
definitely think whatever team is going to get him is going to have a game changing player. When you look at somebody like Odell, I just think that's really one of the more just talented wide receivers in the NFL. But Jake did bring up a good point in terms of is it worth it in terms of everything else that comes with Odell? Is that worth the risk of an organization taking? And we're just gonna have to see if the Packers feel like that's something that they want to take a risk on. And obviously the Seahawks have been in talks of signing Odell too, so there's the chance, the Seahawks looking for a third wide receiver behind DK and Lockett, that there is the possibility that that might happen for the Seahawks too. So it'll be exciting to see what ends up happening with Odell here. But you also talked about, what it was like for Jordan Love, first career start. What would you say for Jordan Love and that first career start? Was that, something you were hopeful on looking on to the future? Or are you just really saying that, we need Rodgers every single week, no matter what, going forward?
yeah, that's a good question. So I obviously it was he struggled pretty badly in his first start,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. There was a lot of Packers fans I saw on Twitter and stuff like that just overreacting like crazy to his first start.
Yeah.
And people, I just want to say like it's his first start and just kind of chill out on that. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Obviously, right now, I mean, we're in the Super Bowl window, and we need Aaron Rodgers to be starting every week right now for us. And but as far as the future with Jordan Love, I mean, I'm not gonna really like throw that away or say we need to cut him as of right now. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely a growing process. It was with Rodgers and Favre. They both needed time to kind of develop into what they are.
Hmm.
So I think it'll definitely be a growing process, but I'm not gonna, say we need to cut him or whatever right now. Like I think that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good example that you brought up there too. Is Rodgers sat behind Favre for what was it, 3 or 4 years, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah,
As
something like that. Yeah,
you guys see Devontae is wide open right there. Hopefully, we don't see any of that this upcoming Sunday. But I think the
I
Packers
think it
fans
was 3 years.
yeah, Packers they really should just need to be patient with Jordan Love. There's still so much he has to learn. You even saw a player like Mahomes. Mahomes sat a full year before he
Yeah,
ended up getting his. Well, he got to start at the very end of that year, but he sat a long time. A lot of these quarterbacks just need time to develop. So, I think I do agree with you. I would be patient in terms of being able to just see exactly what he has, and obviously too. When it comes to the Packers' weapons, there isn't a ton had a touchdown back there, but is going to be an illegal for a pass. But there isn't really a ton outside of Devontae Adams. I will say, though, and I want to hear your opinion on this, where would you say
yeah.
that A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones ranks as a 1-2 combo as running backs in the entirety of the NFL?
That's got to be the number one combo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say that right now. I'm gonna say that's the number one combo. Obviously, you got Kareem Hunt and Chubb, and who else do you got? There's some other combos, but I think the main names are like Kareem Hunt and Chubb, obviously. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you've watched the Packers this year. Like they've done some serious damage. Like having both of those guys for LaFleur has just been like really helped our play calling, and AJ Dillon, like they're the perfect 1-2 combo. Like AJ Dillon he's a super like strong running back, just power,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been really like they've been really effective for us this year and a huge part of our offense. So I would say I would put us at the top spot right now. I would.
Yeah, I think that the Browns have a great argument too in terms of being the next best 1-2 punch. But I definitely think, as you guys see right there, Aaron Jones catching a touchdown. I definitely think that in terms of undoubtedly, I think it's the Browns and then it's the Packers. Wherever you
Yeah,
decide to rate them, it definitely goes down to those two. I think another great thing too is that a lot of your season has been without David Bakhtiari so far, and
yeah.
when he's gonna be back to full health and everything, that you only can anticipate the run game even being better, getting an elite lineman like that going.
I'm not sure if he'll be back this week. I think there was a chance that he was going to come back last week actually, but we didn't end up not clearing him. So he might play this week. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at the injury report yet, but he's definitely going to be back within the next week or two for sure. So that'll be. I mean, everyone knows how big of a deal David Bakhtiari is to our offensive line at left tackle, but
Mm-hmm.
our offensive line has actually fared kind of well without him. Like we've like some of those guys have really stepped up big time. We also have had the guy's name Elton Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually playing left tackle for us early in the year, and he was playing good as well. So those guys have kind of stepped up. But yeah, once Bakhtiari comes back, it's going to make a huge difference to our offensive line. But
Young offensive line too. You have the rookie center in Josh Myers too.
yeah,
After losing
he's hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, after losing Corey Lindsey. So it is kind of like a reworked offensive line for the Packers. But, so far it has looked really good for the Packers. Now, that being said, we are probably going to turn it back for some of my happier memories as a Seahawks fan, but probably some of your least favorite memories as a
Oh yeah,
Packers fan.
this isn't going to be good.
So, what was your reaction in 2014 during the NFC Championship game? I have to ask. I have
I
to
thought you were
ask.
going to ask about the Fail Mary. I thought you were going to ask about
Well,
that first.
as I said, I have a ton of great memories as the Packers from my earlier times. Now, the Packers have
Yeah.
got the better of us lately. They did end up beating us in the divisional round a couple years ago. But, some great games which played between the Packers and the Seahawks, kind of when the Legion of Boom was like really in their prime and everything.
Yeah, I think the NFC Championship game in 2014, that was the toughest loss for me as a Packers fan.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no doubt that was the worst loss. It sucks reminiscing about that game because, like, I mean, we had it in the bag. Like, it was over. I'm sure if you you watched that game and you knew it was over, like,
Mm-hmm.
we were up like 3 scores, I believe, late in the game. I think it was 16-0.
Yeah,
I believe.
16-0. So still technically a
And
two-score
just
game, but it would have been very difficult for us to come back and win the game.
and just the biggest collapse. Like one of the biggest collapses in sports history. I mean, it sucks, but um, yeah, it definitely sucks to reminisce about that game and then losing in overtime.
Hmm.
Just an absolute heartbreaker. And I thought that was one of our best teams too. Like
Hmm.
with Aaron Rodgers, like I feel like that was our year for sure. So it sucks, but
Yeah. Would you go as far as to saying, that team, from 2014, that team you thought would be better than the Matt LaFleur team last year? Because I actually personally really liked the Packers last year. I thought the team, checked off all the boxes of what was needed in terms of a championship team. But would you go as far as to say that, that 2014 team you still would believe is just a little bit better?
that's a good question actually. I think they're super close. Like last year's team with LaFleur was again, I thought it was our year last year too, and just like another NFC Championship heartbreaker. But
Hmm.
that's a good question, man. Like, I think it's super close. I might go with last year's team actually over.
Yeah.
I think we had a better defense, but yeah, we just weren't able to get it done, man. And but I think this year's team is might be better than last year's team.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think it might be. We have a better defense this year. Like it's like our defense. We held Kansas City at 13 points last week. Even after all the special teams errors and stuff like that to give them phenomenal field position,
Hmm.
we still had one of the best offenses in the league to 13 points. So this is definitely maybe the best defense we've had with Aaron Rodgers outside of like maybe the 2000 and
Oh, I thought we
that's a
had
crazy
that
pick right
there.
there.
Eric Stokes right there, who's actually one of those new additions that you are talking about in terms of being a better
Yeah,
defensive player this year. Eric Stokes, the first round pick for the Packers last year. I really thought I had that wide open. That was actually a crazy play by him
yeah,
on that
but yeah,
play. But
uh,
Eric Stokes has been like a huge addition in terms of, Kevin King. A lot was said about him after the NFC Championship game, and you guys decided just to immediately go out and replace him with Eric Stokes.
Stokes in the first round. I think he was our first round pick last year, and he's played really well. I don't think he's been on the field. I think he's hurt right now with like a little injury, but
Mm-hmm.
he's been good for us as well. But back to what I was saying about our defense, I think this probably is our best defense maybe since the 2010 team
Mm-hmm.
when we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anyone that knows has been following the Packers knows that it's been a struggle to find a really a good defense for Aaron Rodgers during his tenure. But I think this year's defense, I mean, we got some really good additions that have helped. Obviously, we made a defensive coordinator change, going with Joe Barry. And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a big fan of the Joe Barry pick at the time we got him. I really wasn't. I'll be honest about that. Like didn't really know much about him, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously he was with LaFleur, and I think he was with him in with the Rams.
Yeah.
And so they obviously have a little bit going there. So I mean, but it's been working out. I mean, obviously after week one, I panicked a little bit. Everyone was kind of panicking about the defense, but
It's a little bit
it's been
hard.
working out.
It's a little bit hard not to panic after all the offseason drama with Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah,
after just how was he even going to be the quarterback of the Packers? Nobody actually really knew. Now, granted, I feel like he was always going to be the quarterback of the Packers.
right.
There was always that question that nobody really knew what was actually going on with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
then week one comes and you guys end up losing by 35 to the Saints. And then all these questions come around. Does Aaron Rodgers even want to play? Is he serious about playing this year? All
uh-huh.
of this stuff. Oh, Ryan Neal almost with the pick right there. But ever since then, you guys have looked really good. Obviously had that long win streak before ended up losing this past week. Had a crazy game against the Cardinals. I thought that game was really over. Then you guys just couldn't score from the one. And then they end up getting down into the field and end up just throwing not a goal line pick, but a red zone pick to essentially end the game right there.
Yeah, that was a crazy game as well.
In a situation where you really probably thought that the best case scenario as a Packers fan is you somehow get this to overtime. And Aaron
Right.
Rodgers' track record of overtime, he never ends up getting the ball first.
Yeah.
It's the reality of Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers that there's so many times when it goes to overtime, he'll just never end up getting the ball first. But
Right.
crazy
Yeah.
game that you guys had there. And I think I want to say one more thing about your defense too.
Mhm.
Probably the most impressive thing that I think that you guys have done on defense is you guys have done this without Zadarius Smith. I think he's probably one of your better defensive players that you guys have.
Yeah. Well, we've done it without a few defensive players right now. We got Jair Alexander's out
Mm-hmm.
with a shoulder injury, and I think that might be about it as far as our star defensive players. But we're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and we've still been able to kind of get it done on defense, which is really promising for how the defense will end up playing when it comes playoff time. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zadarius Smith will be back, and he obviously will help a lot. But we've had some guys step up on the D line, like Rashawn Gary is really kind of like Packers fans were kind of waiting for to see what happens with him
Mhm.
because he had been like obviously he was our first round draft pick a couple years ago, and he hadn't really made a like kind of broken out yet. But he's really been a little overthrow at Russ, but he's been phenomenal so far this year for us. So there's been some guys that have kind of stepped up in place of Zadarius, so it's been good to see that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. I think the Packers, when you're looking at teams within the NFC, they're definitely, it's going to be a good week in terms of the Seahawks because this is as healthy as we have been in a while. And I think it's finally getting Russ back. It's going to be a great test to see, what the rest of the season is going to look like for us because we're at a point, 3-5, where it's definitely an uphill climb to be able to make the playoffs. But, you've seen Seattle teams pick up down the stretch all the time, especially with, Russ coming back too. I would be very surprised if we didn't have a similar result here in terms of, starting to go on a little bit of a win streak because we do play the Cardinals next week, but then after that, our schedule does, soften up a little bit. So I'm super excited to see what it's like for us. And I think it's probably one
Yeah.
of the, better defenses that, Russ has played in a while. Obviously the injury too. But, when he ended up playing the Rams, that was kind of like the best defense I think he has played this year up until what the Packers will show us here this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, I think you can never really count the Seahawks and Russ out. You really can't.
Mm-hmm.
Like who knows with those guys, man? Like you said, they're what 2-5 right now, right?
3-5, 3-5.
3-5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the division is tough though. The division is tough, and the NFC is tough. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be tough, man. But like, who knows really with those guys, man? If they can get a run going and win some games, they can definitely end up sneaking in there. I don't know if they'll win the division, but they can definitely get maybe a wild card because obviously you got three teams now making it.
Yeah, I
The
think the
new
division is going to be difficult for us to catch ground on the division. I think really the Rams and the Cardinals have just looked so good throughout the entirety of the season that us being able to make really a push at the division would be a little bit surprising to me. I'm obviously going to be hopeful and see that hopefully come around, but I do think a wild card potential berth would be possible for us as the season does end up going on. As I said, with Russ, we just really have to string together a couple of games. Maybe we end up signing Odell too. Pete Carroll's been talking about that, and if we do end up signing him, I think really just anything could be possible for the rest of the season for us as a team. I think in terms of talking about defenses so much, the Seahawks defense without Russ has actually looked really good. We played the Saints.
Yeah.
We only gave up 13 points to the Saints. We played the Steelers. Only gave up 20 points to the Steelers. We played the Jags. We really could have shut out the Jags. They ended up getting a garbage time touchdown against us, though. But our defense has looked really good. And if our defense can continue to play at that level, you obviously know, everybody will know that, a Russ-led Seahawks offense is going to be a lot better than what Geno Smith was able to do. Granted, I was happy with how Geno Smith played, as a backup quarterback that hadn't played in so long. There isn't a ton you can really ask from somebody in his position, and I think he did a good what the Seahawks expected out of him. And
Yeah, right.
but Russ is really just like a different type of element of a player that he is and what he's able to bring to the table because essentially Seattle has built our offense through Russ over these last couple of years. I was scared to try Jair right there. We will
Yeah,
end up
Jair's on that right.
we will end up kicking three here. And I do want to transition this a little bit more to talk a little bit more about Madden. So obviously you had been playing in Packers Club Series for as long as I can remember. I really thought in Madden 20 that was going to be your year to win it against Scheeman. Had a little bit of like unfortunate plays that ended up happening there with the fumbles and everything. End up going back to Madden 20, knowing you're going to play Scheeman again. And as somebody that always knew that was going to play Kiv in the Seahawks Club Series, what was that experience for you, like knowing that, you have to beat the same player that a year ago you lost to?
Yeah, it was Scheeman's a great player, and I knew he was going to be one of the guys because obviously you had the winner from Xbox and the winner of PlayStation were going to play in the finals, and so I knew playing Scheeman was always going to be probably the final result there, and it definitely sucked losing on Madden 20. Like I felt like I didn't play a great game. Obviously had that fumble at the end, but
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely looking forward to playing him again in Madden 21. And I felt super confident about everything I was running. Felt super confident against him. So I was able to really kind of prepare for him what he was going to do on offense, and I played really good defense in that game. and I was able to pull it out and finally get the win. And it definitely meant a lot winning the Packers club for the first time, just being a diehard Packers fan and sticking to it. Obviously losing, I lost in the finals 2 years in a row
Hmm.
in the Packers finals, and so lost against Drag on Madden 19, and then obviously Scheme, and so. But I told myself that I was going to stick with it, and I just stuck with it, and I was able to get it done.
And for anybody that is wondering about how big of a fan he really is, when you guys see my background, you guys probably see, DK, you guys see Russ, you guys see a Marshawn Lynch signed jersey back there too. Chig's entire room is decked out with Packers stuff. There's a
Yeah,
Devontae Adams signed jersey back there too for him, but his entire room is just full of Packers stuff. So this is definitely, in terms of fans, and how big they are and people that we've had on here. I will always say, and I'll always defend this take, I think 49er is the biggest fan of his team in the Madden community. I just will always stand by that. I think the guy just loves his team more than anybody loves their team. But I think when you're looking at like the other people outside of me, I think Chiggs is definitely up there in terms of, a fan of his team is immense in terms of the comparison to some of these club champions of other teams that we do have coming on here week in and week out. Ooh, it's
yeah.
Chris
I'm
Carson.
I'm a super diehard Packers fan, man. I always have been since I was a little kid. Like I really don't. Everyone always asks me like, how did you become a Packers fan? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like I just became one. Like when I was little, like I just was a Packers fan. Like I don't even know what it was or when it happened, but I've just always been a super diehard Packers fan since I was a little kid. And that's a dot.
Lockett. Good laser, Russ. And hopefully we do see that. I do have Tyler Lockett on my fantasy team too, so I need to see Lockett score some touchdowns against this upcoming weekend too. And with that being said, what is kind of your earlier memories of the Packers? Is it the Super Bowl win back in 2010, one of your earlier memories of the Packers? Or do you have like a memory like way before that of the Packers?
No, to be honest, like I wasn't even like when we won the Super Bowl in 2010. Like I was still super young. Like I don't even remember much of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously I was watching the games, and I have recordings from when I was little, and I was recording stuff around that time when I was like recording the scores of the games and stuff like that. So I was still a Packers fan, but I just don't remember a whole lot about it. Like I think that was what, 11 years ago. So I was like 10 or something like that
Mm-hmm.
at that time. I could be wrong, but like something around that. And so I don't really remember a whole lot about that. Like, so as far as like a memory, like a lot of them have been bad memories, like playoff losses and stuff like that. But as far as like good memory from the Packers, I guess you could say the Super Bowl win
Mm-hmm.
was really, really kind of a crazy one as far as, beating the Steelers. One of my, someone I know is a super diehard Steelers fan, so there was a lot of trash talking going on there. But that's probably my best memory being a Packers fan. But
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other games. I mean, again, this is another game where you guys ended up falling on the wrong side of it. But I thought the
uh,
game against the Cardinals, what was that, 2015? Was it? Not the. It was the.
yeah,
It
2015,
was
yeah.
2015, the Hail Mary game, and obviously another game that Aaron Rodgers just doesn't get the ball first in overtime. But I thought in terms of the game itself, I mean, you must have been going crazy after what Aaron Rodgers was able to pull off throughout that game. Obviously, unfortunate
Dude,
that you guys ended up losing it, but that to me, in terms of a moment of Packers, fandom, I would have been super high up there.
I forgot. I actually forgot about that as thinking about it. But like, yeah, that was one of them for sure.
Mhm.
Obviously, it didn't end up working out. I think that was the year we played you guys, right, in the NFC Championship game.
No, so that was actually the year after. So that was the year after that you
So that was
guys,
the year after,
yeah,
yeah. I
that
think who did we lose to that year
it
after
was
we
the
beat the Cardinals?
no, you guys
I
did
don't
end up
remember who that
losing
was.
to the Cardinals in that game.
Oh, sorry, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we lost that game. Yeah, yeah.
because Larry
So
Fitzgerald ended up having that
Larry
play.
Fitzgerald in overtime.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was crazy though. Like as far as that game, like I actually didn't get to watch that game at the time. Like I had to record it because we were at like a basketball game or whatever. So we had to record it at our house, and I had to come back and watch it.
Hmm.
And so I was like just trying to avoid spoilers as much as I could. And yeah, that game was insane, man. Like as far as Rodgers getting the ball back and just somehow willing a game-winning drive with like no time, like with 0 seconds on the clock, and just like the
Hmm.
throw to Jeff Janis. But there was two of them, the crazy throws, and just like Jeff Janis making that crazy catch at the end of the overtime. But yeah, that's definitely a memory I keep in mind. I mean, just the ridiculous throws and catches at
Hmm.
the end of that game. But it definitely hurt a lot losing that game. Like it really did. It definitely hurt. after all that, but still a crazy experience. But it's been wild being a Packers fan in the playoffs. Like it's just like it's been super crazy the way the games have gone.
Oh, I thought we were gonna be able to click on there, and I ended up clicking. Oh, fumble! Who
Oh,
is that? Well, make a play, Quandre. Good stuff. Getting
Aaron Jones with the fumble. We don't see that often in regs.
we need all of this luck. I would be okay getting all of this luck for the rest of the season to propel us into the playoffs. And now, I did talk a little bit about the offseason drama too, and I actually thought this stuff was interesting. In terms of the photo that get out Carson, get out, go go go. Oh, good run by Carson right there. Hopefully he is able to come back this week, Chris Carson. But Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers did both post a photo on their Instagram saying that it was the last dance for them. Do you really think that this is going to be the last season for both of them as a Packers fan?
I don't think it will be. I think a lot of it depends on how the season ends.
Mm,
I think
Russ.
I think if we win the Super Bowl this year, there's no way. I don't think that any of them go anywhere. But
Yeah, I
it was
agree.
definitely interesting. I think it was just a lot of drama going on with that. I don't necessarily think that this will be the last season, especially for Devontae. Like I really don't see that happening. There's a lot more to than just players doing what they want. Like that's not necessarily what happens.
Mm,
But it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's been I don't know. I do feel bad for Aaron Rodgers as far as like the way that the front office has kind of been as far as not signing people and kind of the draft pick situation as well has been like I do feel for him on that. But
backgrounding by me right there.
this Packers team is like this is where it's at for him right now. If he wants to win a Super Bowl, like he's
Mm,
gonna do it with this team. Like this team is no joke. Like it's a phenomenal defense. We have weapons on offense with Jones, and AJ Dillon, and Devontae and Tunyon, who's hurt obviously right now. But I mean, this is a really good team. Like I think they'll kind of realize that and realize that this is their best chance of winning a Super Bowl together. So I really don't see that happening. But I think it'll definitely what happens to end the season will matter a lot towards that. Like I mean, obviously, if we win the Super Bowl, there's just no way, right? Like I don't. That's just not really.
Yeah, I agree. I think if the Packers end up winning the Super Bowl, I just don't think that there's any type of ways. I get a little bit of a lag spike right there, but I think that they'll definitely come back at least for the next year, all of them. And Devontae will probably end up signing a longer term deal at that point too. Rodgers will probably be on a year to year basis going forward after that, though.
Oh,
But yeah, no. So we're talking about rosters too. If you take out, the quarterback within a roster, I think it's hard to argue that there's a ton of better rosters than what the Packers have in terms of offensive line, skill positions, what they have defensively too. I just think there is so much about the Packers as a whole that is so good outside of Aaron Rodgers. And you've experienced as a Packers fan all those years of having a bad defense, giving up 30 plus points in playoff games, a defense not being able to do everything they could for Rodgers, and then obviously then the comparisons that come with Brady in terms of all of that too, in terms of
right,
what Brady has had and everything. But I think
right,
really that there's no more excuses for Aaron Rodgers this year. He has the weapons to do it. And I think that, this is the team that if he is going to win a Super Bowl with, I don't think there's a better situation he could go to in the NFL. Because the big
right, yeah,
rumor was the Broncos, I heard, were probably the ideal team, I guess, of where he could have
yeah,
gone to. But I don't think you look at the Broncos team and say, wow, Aaron Rodgers has a better chance at winning a Super Bowl now, especially once you add in the factor of what they would have to give up to get Aaron Rodgers, too. That this is definitely, the best team for Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl with. Oh, Jamal. I thought Jamal was going to be able to get off the block there. As you guys do see Tanyan walk into the end zone right there.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I think the Packers are definitely the best team right now for Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl. I think that's pretty obvious, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he knows that. But like as far as last year, like I thought the same thing that we're thinking right now. Like this is the best team. Like this is his chance to win the Super Bowl. Like this team is as good as it's going to get, and all this other stuff. And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
when the time comes, when it's the NFC Championship game, it's like just all these errors, mental errors, coaching errors. The
Yeah.
defense giving up a free touchdown before the half on like probably the worst call I've ever seen in my entire life
Mm-hmm.
on defense. And so like it's just stuff like that that really kind of derails these Super Bowls for Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of where it just gets frustrating because it's like every year it just seems like something goes wrong, whether it's special teams or defense, just making these crucial errors in these games. But hopefully this year it doesn't happen, man. I think it's a pick for Savage.
Nope, incomplete. Get lucky. But yeah, no, I agree. And I think you can even go a little bit further to say there was probably some questionable calls in terms of last year, in terms of the championship game. And that, even if some of those calls don't end up, or some of those calls get called as no calls or do end up getting called, that, there's a lot of situations that could have ended a lot differently. Oh, DK. DK, go, 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 go. Oh, I got a bad rack animation.
I don't know. What do you think about the LaFleur going for the field goal? What do you think about that?
So, okay, this is actually interesting. I was going to get to this at a point, too.
Okay. Yeah,
I personally thought you guys should have gone for it in that situation. And a big reason why I thought that they should have gone for it down 28-20 is that I just feel like, you guys were still going to have to get a touchdown anyways. And I just think you also have to keep in mind of who's getting the ball back too. I think you just have to also look at like the track history of Brady in terms of what he has done in that situation. And I just think that you can't kick the field goal, and regardless of how good your defense is. I saw this with the Legion of Boom in the Super Bowl and what Brady did in the fourth quarter to them. And that's one of the generational all-time great defenses. But you just can't really confidently say, like, we're going to get the ball back and get Aaron Rodgers another chance. That was your chance to win the game. No, excuse, not even win the game, but just extend the game at that point. And for me personally, I would have 100% say that you guys should have gone for that.
Yeah, so my opinion on it was, like, I really didn't mind kicking the field goal. I think there was a good argument to be made to kick it and a good not to kick it, as Chris Carson's trucking people.
Let's go, Carson.
But the argument I kind of had as far as why I don't really have an opinion on which we should have done. Mm-hmm. I was kind of fine with either, honestly. I was kind of fine with either. And the reason for that was we were going to have to get a stop either way. Like, even if we go for that and get it and we get the 2, Brady was still going to have a chance at a game-winning drive to get a field goal. I mean, that's all they needed. They would have probably got it anyways, considering what happened. But I guess that was kind of my argument. It was a 4th and, like, 10 at the goal line, and we hadn't had success there all game, and it was super hard to score at that point. And we were going to have to get a stop either way. And obviously, kicking the field goal, if we would have got a stop, we could have won it with a touchdown as opposed to going for it. But I don't know. I could see the argument either way. I think people were going to overreact to either. I mean, obviously, I think if he would have gone for it and not gotten it, people would have criticized it. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, man. I don't really see. I kind of was fine with either at the time. I didn't really think of it as an egregious, mistake. Mm-hmm. I think there was more egregious mistakes made throughout the game that we shouldn't have been in that situation. But I don't know. I could definitely see the argument either way. But
I will also say I'm personally a big believer in I want the ball in the hands of my best player to decide the outcome of a game. And I would say that Rodgers is clearly the best player that you guys have. And for me, I would just say that I would want Aaron Rodgers to decide if I win or lose the game. Now, you're 100% right that the defense would still have had to get a stop in that situation. But I feel like at least you would have known. I don't know. I would have just liked to know if Aaron Rodgers would have scored on 4th down. I'm probably looking at this from more of a, like,
I don't know, man,
a third point of view where I just kind of wanted to see, what Rodgers could have potentially done there. But I do agree with you looking at both sides. There was never going to be a right call in that situation. And that's part of the job of a head coach. Sometimes there just isn't a right call, and no matter what you do, you're going to be criticized for it.
So let's think about this hypothetical. So say the Packers are down 6 points, right, instead of 8.
Yeah.
With the same situation, 100% you go for that.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you LaFleur goes for that. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, you would go for that anyways because it's 6 instead of 8. But I'm just saying hypothetically where Aaron Rodgers could have won the game on his own as opposed to relying on the defense, 100% you go for it, 100%. Yeah. I think just because it was a situation where they were going to have to get a stop either way, I think LaFleur felt more confident in, okay, let's kick the field goal here and let's get a stop because we're going to have to do it anyways, and then we win with the field goal. But I don't know, man. People were, live and die by Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that. So I can understand the argument. It's just the more egregious stuff was the halftime defense before the half, and I know you know about that.
Yeah, that was
just the most egregious call I've ever seen, and that's why we got rid of Mike Pettin. I mean, you just can't do that, man, in that big of a game. I mean, you just
Mhm.
give a free touchdown before the half. I mean, that's unacceptable defense right there, man. But
Yeah,
I
no.
think that was the turning point in the game, and I think that was the biggest reason why we lost that NFC Championship game
Mhm.
is because of that. But it's just stuff like that is why, Aaron Rodgers is kind of fed up with the Packers. I think that's a big reason.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
won't say that publicly, but I think that's got to be something that's eating at him.
that's actually something I wanted to ask you too. And I actually don't know the answer to this, and this is something I've been curious because I thought I saw a report on this a while ago. Was it true that the year you guys took Jordan Love, that you guys were trying to trade up for Justin Jefferson?
Yep, yep,
And I think,
yep. That was funny.
and it really would have been crazy to see how much would have changed in terms of the relationship of Rodgers and everything with the Packers. And now I will say, and Rodgers has obviously said this publicly a ton, that the draft pick of Jordan Love wasn't really the issue that he had with the Packers organization. But I definitely think that plays a part, regardless of how much he does downplay it or not downplay it.
No doubt, no
Um,
doubt.
just him knowing that the replacement for him was drafted, and where he really thinks that not getting or having a lack of weapons is like a huge reason why he isn't able to make a run. As you guys see Devontae from Aaron Rodgers right there, put him in borderline field goal range here. um it's just crazy to
Yeah, I
think about
agree.
how much different the situation could have played out if they just ended up taking Justin Jefferson.
I agree with you, man. Like, I mean, it was the guy came off MVP season, and it was like you're drafting a quarterback. I think that was just like, I mean, it was super egregious, man. Like, obviously, you go out and get another, and it was a year after the weapons had struggled too, as far as receivers, where like everyone was questioning the receivers,
Yeah.
and I don't know, man. It was definitely a draft pick that I don't think anyone really was in support of, but it definitely plays a part, and how he's looking at this stuff, man. Like, it's definitely something it's been a long list of things for years, but that definitely was a big part of it, I think, for sure.
Now, let's go on to a little bit of a happier note because I know we have talked a lot about, as you have a laser there, to actually get in field goal range now. But what's your rating 1 to 10 right now in terms of confidence to be able to win the Super Bowl?
I feel really confident in this team. I really do. It's a top five defense, and you got Aaron Rodgers, and you got these weapons that are just phenomenal weapons with Jones and Dillon and Adams. I mean, obviously with Rodgers, with all those guys, it's gonna be tough to beat these guys. And so I think I'll give them like a 9.5 out of 10 to win the Super Bowl.
All
It's
right.
Laser Lazard right there.
We give up a touchdown right there. That was kind of intentional from me. Now we have a chance now at being able to get 7 here. But with that also being said, who would you say is your biggest threat in terms of being able to win the NFC specifically? The AFC really is kind of all over the place. I feel like every single day you look at the standings after Sunday, there's always a new best team in the AFC. There was a point where it was the Bengals, then it was a point where it's the Bills, and now obviously the Titans beating the Rams. You would say it's the Titans, but that division or that conference really, in my opinion, is just all over the place. Where it's going to be hard to
Yeah.
say there's like a single favorite. But for you, would you say that the Cardinals are probably your biggest threat to win the NFC, or would
I
you
don't
say
know.
team
No.
like a team like the Bucks or the Rams would be a bigger threat to you guys?
No, I don't look at the Cardinals as nowhere near as a threat as the Bucks and the Rams.
Mhm.
We obviously already beat the Cardinals this year without Devontae Adams, without Jair Alexander, without Za'Darius,
Mhm.
without Lazard. So I really don't look at the Cardinals as much of a threat to us in the NFC. But I think it's clearly the Bucks and the Rams are the two teams right now that are the biggest threat.
Mhm.
I mean, just the Rams look super tough. I know they lost last night to the Titans, but it's one game and anyone could lose in the NFL. But
Mhm.
you look at the Rams with McVay and Stafford and that defense, and Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, like that's something you don't want to play with. So
Yeah.
we beat them last year in the playoffs, but it was Jared Goff at the helm. I mean, there's a big difference this year with Stafford. So I mean, the Rams are definitely someone to look out for in the NFC, but I don't think you can look past the Bucks, man. Like the Bucks, obviously, we lost to them last year in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
They brought every starter back, so they're going to be there too. So I think those are definitely the two biggest teams in the NFC to look out for. I don't know if I'm missing anybody, but
Yeah, no, I agree with you in terms of it. Let me, before this game does end up getting here, because it is the think we are just going to have to pick a Hail Mary here. Quickly looking at the standings in terms of, other teams that could potentially be a threat to them. I would definitely say the Seahawks. You forgot about them. They will be hot by the end of the season. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that when looking at all those teams, that those are the biggest threat. And even the Bucks, they're probably coming off a disappointing loss against the against the Saints here, and then the Saints did end up actually losing here too, as we just get screamed at right here. So we aren't able to do enough to win the game. We do end up losing 24-17 in the Madden simulation here. But with that being said, before we end the show, we always do game score predictions. Now, what do you think the score of this upcoming weekend's game will be?
So I'm gonna predict not so close of a game, just because I don't want to, because I think a close game it doesn't spell good for us with Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Russell Wilson just wins close games.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say we win comfortably by, I'm gonna say 11 points. So I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 20, or I'm gonna say 13. So I'm gonna say.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 27-14 Packers win.
27-14. Okay, so I will say with Russ coming back, he's not scoring 14 points. He's at least getting to 20, maybe even 30. Shoot, maybe even 40, honestly. But I will say that I would be very surprised if this game was a lot higher scoring than 25 points. I don't really see both teams getting over, I'll say like 21 points personally. So I'm going to say 24-20 Seahawks is going to be my prediction for this upcoming week. I think looking at both of these teams' defenses, the Seahawks defenses looked really good these past couple of weeks. I think they've started to turn a corner in terms of what they've been able to do. Talk so much about the Packers defense and what they're able to do. I think this is a game that, one team's going to have, mid-20s, the other team is going to have low 20s. And whoever gets, obviously, in the mid-20s will end up winning this game. But with that being said, Chiggs, I really do appreciate you being on here. If you guys have your own score predictions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. And if you guys do like this content, make sure you guys do like and subscribe. All my info in terms of YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all that stuff is always in the descriptions. And Chiggs will be in this week's update as well. With that being said, I will see you guys all for Week 11 next time.